Hi. Happy Wednesday, conscious entrepreneurs and creatives. How are you? Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how your week has been. I feel like I spent all week with you guys last week. I sort of laughed at myself when I saw my calendar today and realized I was going live again because we went live 3 times last week. If you have not caught up with conscious leadership, it's called Conscious Leadership, Hiring and Letting Go. It's in the featured section of the group. And it will be up for a little while, but I'm actually giving away a full 90-minute coaching session for anyone who either signs up for it, and you can find the link in the top of I'll put the link in here too. You can find the link in the top of the Facebook group. You can also find the link. I mean, you can either sign up for it, or you can comment on all 3 days of last week's lives, and you'll be entered to win that free coaching session. So if you would like some support in your business, let me know and we will get that to you shortly. Okay, and just bear with me, guys. I'm double checking that we're live. If you're live, say hi, let me know that you're here. Today is a fun topic and it's going to be short and sweet. I've got a client call, and this is really a topic that on the one hand I could talk about forever, but on the other hand, I think it actually lands even more potently when people just get a chance to kind of sit with it. So it's not letting me. Okay, we're just going to deal. I hope you guys can see me. All right, so what we're talking about today, actually, so first off, make sure you catch up with conscious leadership, but also I'm offering some free coaching sessions. They're short ones, so different. You're going to get a big old fat 90-minute session if you sign up for the conscious leadership. That's just a giveaway, and thank you for joining. But I'm also offering, I've done this periodically before, I'm offering some free sort of mini coaching sessions, if you will, related to today's topic, because I think it's something that is just really, really, really important. And if you're struggling with your own pivot, your own transition, your own, if you're moving to creating a second business, a third business, navigating, managing multiple businesses at once, or even if you want to keep things the same in your business and you're just wanting to take that up a notch, up leveling your income, up leveling your impact. Not that that's that's something that a lot of people have on their goal list. Whatever it is that you're looking to do next, this is for you today. And so that's also what the free session will support. So I'll talk about that a little bit closer to the end if you want to sign up for the free session. So today, what are we talking about? We're talking about what happens when you're working in your business. So let me just sort of set the stage first. This conversation is assuming that you love the work that you do. You may not. Sometimes I feel like I help my clients to love the business itself, or to love the running a business, or to love the CEO role. But it starts with, you already love the work you do, whatever your client facing work is, whatever your product is that you create, or your art that you create. You already love the work you do. You've built a business around that. And you've done that. And the reason this is sort of the prerequisite for this conversation, which by the way, I think is everybody in this group, is because this is all built on the concept that if you love what you do, and it's sort of this like unique creation of something that, even though there's lots of business coaches, lots of, copywriters, lots of web designers, whatever out there, that yours is unique, your business is unique, and what you do is unique to you, because nobody's different. I mean, everybody's different. But the thing that I think runs a lot of people ragged is this concept of sort of like, okay, well, I found the thing, right? And I've seen this in my business. My business is almost 5 years old, and it's had like 2, I don't know, maybe 3 iterations, depending on where you draw the line. It's had 2 or 3 iterations. I started this business as a hypnotherapist. Yeah, I was helping people with mindset, but that's a lot different than you know, what it looks like today. And when you're following that drive, that sort of fulfillment, not sort of, but you're following your fulfillment, you're following your gifts, you're following your zone of genius, to use Gay Hendricks terminology. I think there's this weird, messed up mentality that sometimes we have. I definitely had this myself. I know I've seen it in my clients all over the place. I'm always networking. I have lots of friends who are entrepreneurs. Like, I have seen this shit across the board, but there's this weird sort of mentality almost that, like, if something starts to shift and you want to do something different or even slightly different, that like something's wrong with that. Because what does it mean about the first thing you created? Because you also loved that. And then, like, almost like having a second and a third child. I find this happens with my clients who are running multiple businesses. It's not all that different than what I hear my friends who are mothers or fathers say when they go from child number 1 and to adding child number 2, where they're like, but I love my child so much. Like, how could I possibly ever love somebody else as much as I love him or her? Or how can I split my love? How can I give enough attention to everybody? I don't know if that's going to be okay, right? There's always these, and I see this with people running multiple businesses. I see this with people when they're pivoting, or even just when you start to get that inkling, right? I'll speak for myself. There's times when, you know, just because you love what you do doesn't mean like life is perfect and you're like a flippin' unicorn and like you're shitting rainbows, right? Like, there's like life and stuff that you have to do that you don't want to do, or like find ways to manage or whatever it is, right? And so just because you're not like, and I will say, I am most days jumping up and down because I love my work so much, but not every day, right? Like, not every day, 5,000%, like maybe it's just 80% one day, right? And there is this weird sort of like, because it's such a passionate thing, because it's such a creative thing, because it's like the thing that lights our soul on fire, it's like this thing, this concept that I see a lot of people have, and I've had too, where it's like, if I'm having an 80% love day, like maybe something's wrong. Oh my God, what if I don't love my work? And like, I've even taken that to myself to say, like, I spent a whole long time in corporate. I loved my work like intellectually. And I think in so many ways it was a somewhat of a match for my gifts, but it was not a slam dunk, and I knew it. And so I worked really hard to find the love of my life career, and I found it. And it just makes me want to cry to say that all the time, even 5 years later. And so sometimes I'll take that to be like, oh my God, like I only like a little bit liked it today. So does that mean it's all over and I'm going to have to quit now? And like, there is no other option for me. This is the only thing I'm ever going to love doing. So holy shit, right? Slow your roll, calm down. It's going to be okay. And know that, here's the message for today. Know that that's just normal. And it's part of being a creator. It's part of running a business. It's part of doing something you love, right? Think about your romantic relationships. There's like the beginning stage where you're like all gooey in love and you think the other person's perfect. And then like one day you realize they also have flaws and you're like, oh God. Okay, so now we have that, right? Real life steps in, but that also I have found can be even just much more beautiful to create a life with somebody that's real, that's deep, where, you know, you can show the shittiest side of you and they actually love you anyway. That's just beautiful, right? But I think when we are multi-passionate, and that's a word that I really, really, really feel important to use today. When we're multi-passionate and we have this deep love and inspiration and like creativity around the work that we do, the nature of it is, frankly, my friends, that your business is a work of art. It is a creative process. And so it has to evolve and change. You guys have, if you've been in my space for very long, you've heard me talk about this for years. Like, I'm all about the evolution of your craft and of you as a business owner and sort of what that looks like. But what I find trips people up a lot is those moments. And I was talking about like having an 80% day or having like whatever, if you're transitioning or if you're pivoting. What I find trips people up when they are feeling that on a more regular basis is they don't know what to do with that, and they can kind of flip out. So if you are finding it, so I find that it kind of shows up in one of two ways. One, you may like just think everything's fine, and then you're starting to just not love your business as much. And like that feels really shitty. And then like the next week you notice the same thing. And the next week you notice the same thing, right? That's just an indicator that it's time to make a change. Sometimes it means, I mean, I have absolutely supported some of my clients in closing a business and opening another one, or closing a business in some form or fashion. It can just be a pivot, right? And creating something new. But our brains want to go to like, oh shit, now I have to burn this down, right? Or I don't like this anymore. I'm working too much. I haven't figured out the team thing to get enough support. I'm just going to burn this down and like hate myself forever, right? So there's this tendency when you're like starting to pick up on those like less than love moments that like something is wrong. It's just but here's the thing, like it's just your like radar to say, oh, it's time in many, many, many cases. And I absolutely support you in doing the next big thing when you have a big thing that needs to come in and be done. Absolutely. But in so many cases, that is just your nudge to make a small change. To just make a small change. But then I also see this coming in with my clients who are making really active, clear, intentional change in their business. I want to up level my mindset, my income, and my impact. I want to pivot and serve a slightly different type of customer. I want to add something like a podcast, or start writing my book, or start speaking engagements, right? Like I want to add something to my existing business that also lights me up, that feels good, that also will generate money and scale my business, blah, 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 blah. Or I want to create a second business or a third business or a fourth business. So I had said in the promotion for this thing that I see, first off, there's a lot of change happening in the world. There's a lot of change happening in the online space. I am seeing so many new businesses out there. I feel like everybody I'm talking to, and again, so many of my friends, closest friends, are entrepreneurs too. Besides my clients, besides my own little self, lots of people are up leveling, are tweaking, pivoting, making adjustments, whether that adjustment is really obvious to the outside world or if it's more just sort of internal behind the scenes. Starting second businesses, adding that podcast, writing the book, all the things, right? There's so much of that like big change in the air. And as said in the promo, like, there's something that I know you are resisting if you're in that space right now. What I find this tendency is that we start to resist this thing. If you know what the thing is, let me know. I'm going to quickly check the comments before I say what the thing is. But there's this thing that we start to do that when we resist it, slows down the change process, puts us back in that space of, I have zero clarity. Holy shit, what's happening? Does not serve your actual transition because you're resisting this one thing or thinking this one thing is wrong. And the truth is, this one thing, I'm going to tell you in 1 second, because I don't like to be a tease. This one thing is actually the magic to the next step for you. Okay, I'm just going to quickly check comments. Does anybody have a guess? Okay. I don't see any comments. This one thing is the messiness in your brain around the change. Let's just call it the change, right? I see so many people resisting that messiness, saying to themselves, oh my God, I don't know, right? And I do this too. Like, this doesn't feel quite right, but I don't know what I don't know what will make it right. I don't know. I don't know. I want to start another business, but I don't know. It's either going to be like this or it's either going to be like this. And I really want to start a podcast, but like, I don't know what the topic's going to be. I have like 9 ideas, right? Like, and I'm making a little bit of fun, but because we all do it, but also that's the value of being in this space where you're just, creativity flows in all the time. And it's so beautiful. But when you allow yourself to decide, because it's purely a decision, my dears, when you allow yourself to decide that the messiness is the enemy and that like, I don't know, right? You guys have heard me say a lot lately, like, I don't have clarity. I don't have clarity. I don't have clarity. Like, bullshit. I bet you do have clarity. And also, the messiness is what actually leads you to the answer. I would argue the answer's in the messiness. And I don't want to hear it. Change is not linear. The answer's in the messiness. And when we go, I don't know, I'm in the middle of a change or transition or a pivot or moving and I'm like stuck and I'm scattered and my brain is multi-passionate, right? Like, and I feel like I have ADHD and I can't focus and I don't know what to do next. And again, none of that is wrong. That just means you're in the creative process. And that's the nature of it. It's not clear till it's clear. And so many times the clarity doesn't come except like in one fell swoop. Sometimes it does, but sometimes you get the big fat download and sometimes you get like the baby download, like go into that coffee shop, right? Like just email this one person, just write this one post about this one thing, right? So oftentimes there's a quote, and I'm going to find it and try to put it in here in the comments, but there's a quote about like living your way into the answer. And it's about taking some action, listening to those whispers. You don't have to like force it. Wait till you have a whisper, but follow each and every little whisper. It's going to take you there. But the whispers are in the messiness, right? The part of you that says, oh, like, okay, it's been a few weeks or a few months that like this part of my business, something doesn't feel quite right, rather than decide that we're wrong and try to find clarity or like push it down and like keep pressing on or whatever it is. Like, just know that that's like the creativity, the inspiration, the intuition in you, the genius in you, I would argue, speaking to you and saying like, hey, it's time to do a little tweak, right? And again, so often that 1 degree shift, that tiny adjustment, seemingly tiny adjustment can make a huge impact either on your audience, on your clients, on your income, on your impact, for sure on you as a business owner. And so when you lean into that messiness, one of my favorite books is by William Bridges, and it's just called Transitions. It's a book that I've read a million times in my life. It's probably the #1 book that I've given to friends, family members, and clients, because it covers any life change, any real business change as well. He was an organizational psychologist, I think. I read his book when I was in graduate school for organization development. And basically what he says is change is ending, neutral zone, and new beginning. And it's not linear. So you could be like a little bit new beginning while also ending. And then the neutral zone, and what he talks about with the neutral zone, which is this messiness that I'm talking about, is where you're in this space of like, I'm not in the old and I'm not in the new. Because here's what I would argue: the minute you start to have an idea that like something in the old needs to change, right? Something in the present day needs to change, you're already at some tiny little level in the new because you've had this thought that something needs to change, right? Ooh, I think I have this idea for a business. Well, okay, it doesn't matter that you haven't started it yet. The fact that you've just ideated the idea, you're already in the new. And so you're kind of like, you're still in the old because you're still doing your other business, but then maybe you've got this new one. And then the neutral zone is the messiness. It is the nature of change. It is how we make change. And when we resist the messiness, when we resist the neutral zone, some people call it like they feel upside down or like they're getting their sea legs. That's another example, right? If you live on a boat and then you come to visit land, you have sea legs, like vice versa. When you're on a boat and you're like, whoa, like trying to keep your legs stable, right? It's an adjustment period. That's all it is. And when you resist the messiness, when you resist the neutral zone, you're actually just slowing your progress down and keeping yourself in that confused, messy space even longer. Because I personally believe that when we can feel, so my solution to this, my invitation to you around this for yourself is to just lean in for a minute to the messiness. It's not as scary as you think it is. In fact, the resistance to it is just honestly a lot harder because it requires a lot of effort. In the same way that we can allow ourselves to just feel our feelings, right? What's the guy who wrote, God, I can't think of the name of the book. There's a guy who wrote a book about the emotional scale and how when you actually have a feeling, if you lean into it and you just actually feel it, it only lasts for like 10 or 15 minutes at the worst. But we're so afraid of it that we want to push that shit down, right? Same with your feelings. We all know that if you've done any amount of mindset work in your life, or therapy or coaching or anything, right? Like learning to feel those feelings, it's not any different than with that messiness. If you can lean into the messiness, again, I'm not saying let the messiness run your life. Give it a minute, maybe set a timer, but journaling, that's why a lot of people love to journal. Journal the shit out of that messiness. All the weird, crazy, what's the other word people say? Confusing thoughts that you have around this messiness, just write them down. It'll help you process them and get them out and keep you moving. I'm not saying you're going to like find full clarity in 5 minutes or 15 minutes even, or even 5 days, but it does help to remove the resistance. And when you can remove the resistance, then you can feel into, ooh, you know what? It's not just that I don't want to do this particular thing anymore. Like, yeah, I'm not feeling the love from this work anymore so much, but it's just this tiny little piece within that piece that I don't want to do. Oh, well, that's an easy change. How would that feel to make that change in my business? Whew, that would feel really good, right? Like, and again, I'm oversimplifying, but when you lean into the messiness, you will know, you will find out. And also I like to ask my body, like, where do I feel this messiness in my body? Where do I feel this messiness in my business? Can also sort of start to help you think about it differently and sort of call it out, but giving yourself the time and space, leaning into that messiness to say, what is it that I don't want anymore? What is it that doesn't quite feel right? And that's okay. And then saying, okay, so now I'm going to start asking questions of myself and waiting for the answers to come around what is it that I want to do about it? Does it mean a new business? Does it mean a pivot? Does it mean a tiny little 1% change? That's the thing that I find so often is just like, oh, I don't really like doing this anymore. Okay, cool, then don't. It's fine, right? That's one of the things that my clients will say to me all the time. I'll be like, well, why don't we just not do that anymore? And they're like, you mean I can do that, right? I've actually spoken with and somebody else today, 3 or 4 people lately who are like, I don't market myself on social media. I'm also still a successful business owner. Like there are so many different ways you can do what you want to do. So like full permission to let all options be open to you. Lean into the messiness. Let it be okay that you are still getting your sea legs. It just means that you're onto something. It's just part of the process. And when you can look at that as like productive, it's a productive thing instead of a, oh my God, I don't know what's wrong with me that I don't have clarity, or I don't know what's wrong with me that this feels messy to me. When you can lean into it, A, it's actually not as scary as you think it is. B, the answers are in there. And again, I'm not trying to say that like that's the magic formula to get it all in 5 minutes, but that's the process avoiding the messiness of change, like starting a new business and not managing your grief around how you're changing your percentage of your time between business one and business two. Like it's going to still be there when you make the new business. You may as well deal with it now, right? Whatever the thing is that's coming up. So I invite you to honor the shit out of the messiness. Honor the messiness that's coming up. Whatever's going on for you in your business, you're probably, if you're feeling messy, there's probably change of brewing. And that, again, that doesn't have to be a huge change, but it's most likely going to come to you in the form of this creative process. And so just allowing that to happen is really important, and allowing yourself to be in that neutral zone for as long as you need to. And that's not to say like, don't take action towards the new. I'm a big believer in like, you're never going to be ready. If you're waiting for full clarity and a 172 point plan before you move forward, like you've waited way too long. Like it's just way too long. Most of the time we can find a small step forward to get to the next amount of clarity for that, to find us the next step, to find us the next step. That's what I find. These baby steps, small steps forward is actually a much easier and more effective and productive way to run a business when we're navigating a change in particular. So don't wait until you're ready. But if you can lean into that messiness, you can find the clarity, just enough clarity, right? Again, hold on to yourself, because I would argue, like, if you're going to allow yourself, here's my final thought for you. If you can think about yourself, think about the TV, like the movies and the TV shows where they show like the montage of the person. And I always think about it in terms of like artists and writers is the easiest one to show, but like the person who's like in that like montage, right? I think that's what it's called, with the music in the background, and like the person's working really hard and they're like, and they're like crumbling up the paper and throwing it on the ground. And then they like start typing again on the typewriter, right? Or they're writing a book or whatever. Like it's a creative process and it's messy, but they get there. And they get there by just taking little steps by little steps, talking to somebody, doing the one thing, going to sleep when they get frustrated, throwing the, crumpling the paper and throwing it on the ground, and then allowing themselves to keep going. The artists really know this space well, and they know that when they feel messy, it can be fucking frustrating, but it also means they're in the zone. Somewhere in there is like the art of what is going to come. All right, my friends, I am offering a free session for anyone who's feeling this messiness and wants a little bit of clarity. I'm going to help you lean into it, but also start to remove the stuff that's not necessary and start to focus in on the stuff that's going to help you find those next steps, those baby steps, that hybrid way forward. It's something that I'm really good at, and it's something that I really want to offer to you. So hop on a free call with me. We will jump into your business and we will get you a little bit of like messy clarity messiness. Have a great day, guys. Talk to you soon. Love.